Hi friends, oops, we're just getting adjusted over here. We're going to be going live very shortly here at Rize Fitness. We are live.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right, it's already live, FYI.
Ooh.
And yeah, we're just gonna get mic'd up, you know, it's
Okay.
just gonna be like while we do that, so
Yeah,
we can have
perfect.
just clipping up over there.
Great.
I'm gonna get clipped up.
I'm in the Durrani verse.
Yes, you are.
All right, I like that.
Okay, this is great. We're all like ready to roll. Mic is good. This is how things work when you're like, you know, receiver settings, orange to orange. Bravo, bravo, we are connected. Receiver settings. How are you feeling? Okay, we're
Feel
gonna do
good.
a quick little sound and we're gonna go a little tighter. Sit on. Wonderful, great. All right, yeah, light is actually pretty good. I'm
Sweet.
glad to hear that.
You shoot horizontal on lives. That's good.
Yeah.
Sweet.
You didn't know that?
No, I don't do these things.
Okay.
Get in the shot a bit more.
Okay, and now we can see in here, and we're about to, let me make sure the sound, talk. You're good? Check.
Yeah.
Check.
I think
Okay,
so.
great. Okay, on y va. All right.
Sweet.
So that's there, this is here. That's the lowest that I could bring it. I was like trying to bring it lower. Let me just,
That's good.
voila.
Should I move over a bit? Just wondering if I'm in the camera. That looks pretty
Yeah,
good.
because that's what's going on broadcast.
Yeah.
Hang on.
There we go.
Voila.
That's the center now.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, rock and roll. Your
Yeah.
sound is good.
I think
Sound
so.
is on. Mic is hot. Okay. Okay, how much space we got? Okay, we're good.
We're good?
Okay.
Cool.
I just want to make sure we got a little bit of space up. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
So we are need. We ended up being.
Okay,
This
you
is
win.
good. This is good.
You
This is-
win.
No, just having fun with it. That's good.
Can you tell me how to spell your last, say how to pronounce your last name?
Maynard.
Maynard. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to like butcher it on you.
That's okay. That's okay.
Alright.
Did I get Durrani right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
okay. Hi everyone, welcome back. This is season 2 of On Location with Zara, brought to you with the support of TELUS STORYHIVE. And as you may be wondering what's going on today, I'm in my fitness gear. I'm here at my gym, and I figured I would share some of my fitness journey with you, and I thought what better way to do that than to bring my coach on, who I've been working with for the last month and a half, 2 months. And in between that, there was a little bit of an injury. We're gonna dig in with him. We have where he's gonna show us around the gym that I go to, Rize Fitness here in Yaletown, downtown Vancouver. Joining me is Kevin Maynard, who is one of the senior coaches here at Rize, and he's very educated about the human body. He's also a kinesiologist. He's worked with clients from all different walks of life, and you're kind of like a fitness coach, but also a personal coach. You know, I feel like that's what ends up happening when you're working with people so close.
Totally.
So tell me, what really got you into the fitness journey?
Well, first of all, thanks for that introduction.
My
Very
pleasure.
smooth and grateful for that. So for me, this has been a lifelong journey. I've been a coach since I was in high school. And really just kind of started with a love of movement. That's kind of where the kinesiology background comes from. So that's kind of a quick and dirty and how it started. I was very much into coaching as a young athlete, and then over time just kept going, and that led into more of the types of people that I work with now. I work with some athletes still, but primarily I like working with busy folks like yourself who have a lot going on, to where we can like really help you get back to your normal.
Now, one of the things that I found very interesting working with you, Kevin, is the fact that, I've gone to so many different gyms, and I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to learn from so many different people, is how you were able to notice the areas in my body that you're like, okay, you know what, we're gonna bring everything back a little bit, and we're actually going to work on your mobility. Because you can push your body, but then if your hips aren't working properly, if your gait isn't proper, like for someone like me, I noticed that was happening because of my ankle sprain, and I love the fact that you were able to notice it, and you're like, Zara, wait a second, we need to actually take baby steps, and we're gonna go backwards a little bit, and we're going to crawl, and that is not a negative thing, but I was so grateful. I was like, oh my god, like, so tell me about that. Let's talk a bit about mobility. I think that was something I really wanted to share with my audience today.
Yeah, so I think it's something that gets forgotten quickly because, and rightfully so, we get busy. A lot of the people I see here at Rize are in some type of leadership role, hustling. We've got a lot of nurses coming in, a lot of people in upper management and C-suite, and it's a lot of sitting, and it's a lot of long hours. And just like when you're out on location or you're doing the thing you enjoy, not necessarily thinking about your hip mobility and your ankle range of motion. It's also not something that's going to happen as consistently on your own. That's why we like to get people in. But for you, the journey has been one where you came in and you knew your body prior, and you were working with coaches in the past. And one of the things that we like to balance here is a little bit of what we see and a little bit of what you want. And so you came in wanting a goal, but then we're seeing, and I get to work with the physios and the naturopaths here, we're seeing what you might need a little bit more. When you're coming off of an injury, it's really obvious, right? But prior to that, we don't necessarily, and me included, I don't necessarily know how my body's holding tension, and a trained eye is necessary in order to see that. At least that's what we think.
And I feel like one of the things I'm noticing is that the importance of working with a coach. Like, you can do classes and they're wonderful, and you guys have some great classes here, and I feel even the difference with the classes here versus a few other places. Like, I would have class pass and I would go and try out all these classes. However, if you're not doing something correctly, like for a while, like 2 years in a row, I got injured doing RDLs.
Got it. Common, yeah.
To the point that I was like, it was like in December because it's snowing, it's so cold, even though I thought I had warmed up properly. But it's so different when you have, like you said, a coach who's working with you who can notice, like, wait a second, why can't you go a little bit lower? Okay, what's going on? What's happening with your knees? And you need that trained eye a bit versus like filling a class with 50 people, and then you especially with time, like if you're 20, it's so different. Like being in my 40s now and working out and wanting to stay fit and healthy when I'm working long hours on set, and just really needing that, okay, if I want to take my fitness journey seriously, not that I need to do any competitions anytime soon, but hey, like I always hold in here, like the lower belly area, like why I want to get my glutes more defined, or I want to improve my posture, or I'm holding neck tension. Something you brought up to me, you're like, Zara, maybe you need to belly breathe because you're holding so much neck, and like, no joke, no one had like said that to me specifically. Maybe you're just like breathing shallow and you're going, maybe you need to like breathe. So now whenever I'm even walking or working out, I was like, okay, belly, ribs expanding.
It's really like a 360 of your lifestyle that we're trying to help you optimize, really. And so, when you were chatting there, I was listening, but I was thinking about how, the journey that we're on is going to be always evolving, and the mobility piece is huge, and we just need to continue to help you to keep those pieces in place. When things get busy, we always know like what to return to, and when we're seeing, like, for example, an RDL, that's a movement that's like very unnatural. it's a hip hinge, but it's something that like you're never gonna like pick up your laundry that way. But it's the same pattern as picking up your laundry. So most of the stuff that we're doing in a gym environment is putting your body either at an advantage or a disadvantage. And RDL is kind of putting your low back at a little bit of a disadvantage so we can target your hamstrings. And that's why that movement can tend to be problematic for people. It's because if the hamstrings are tight, then the lower back is going to overcompensate. And what usually ends up happening with an RDL, and why that move can be problematic, is people round their back, and then they don't feel the hamstrings because they rounded their back, they lost tension, and B, the back's not going to feel very good suddenly lifting a bunch of weight. And so I say all that to kind of bring the point to a lot of what we're doing here is supposed to help real life, but it's going to feel unnatural in the beginning and in the process of doing the movements because they're not normal movement patterns, but they are the big movement patterns of life.
Can you share with me a little bit of the Rize philosophy? Like what is, because I've been to many gyms without saying any names, like from super luxury to like, you know, intense classes. Like we have this amazing opportunity to have in walking distance in downtown Vancouver so many amazing gyms.
Yep.
And even though you know you don't have the hot tub or sauna or any of those things, but I'm noticing like even the classes I did like last weekend, like I've done Tyler's classes a couple of times, and I sent him a message and I was like, I have to tell you, you're a really good coach because you make it beginner friendly.
Yep.
Like if I just see on social media and I'm like hypertrophy, I'm like, oh, I first signed up for that class, I'm like, oh, it looks a bit intense, I'm just gonna cancel it. He's like, no, that's where I help you. Or like Noah's class and how he's like, smile, and just like how they're just kind of like inspiring you.
Nice.
But not in a way of, oh, this is what you say. Like, Zara, queen, come on, you can do this.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel like you're getting a fitness coach, but also like this life coach in a way. I don't know, it just for that moment, like how Noah will be like, okay, just lie down, let go of your day for this next hour, you're just gonna be here. It's so nice, you know, for busy people, for everyone, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or you're an exec or you're an artist, like, it's just so nice. You come into this space and you think it's just going to be and then these guys who, I think I mentioned this to you, but especially for beginners or for someone who's coming back from an injury, like I was training a lot earlier this year and then I sprained my ankle and then coming here, it takes the elitist mind away and it's so welcoming, and even though all of you guys are super fit, you guys make it so like, hey, it's okay if I don't know. It's okay if I don't know how to do an RDL or I can't do a push-up or whatever. You're like, it's okay that there's no judgment.
Yeah, so on the philosophy piece, our approach is to optimize your health so you can really like maximize your life. And so what that means is there's a consistency of methodology amongst all the coaches. The group coaches and the PTs, the chiros, everybody kind of has the same approach and agrees that there's a certain way to do things. And that's because our owner Reggie hires with that in mind. Like he really wants to make sure that people aren't just trying fitness out as a career, like everybody here is pretty dedicated, and not that there's anything wrong with hiring however you want to hire, and B, that there's that continuity of education and approach. And so that's what I think people feel when they're in the moment of the session, and why we feel different is because of that continuity. Like you won't, for example, you won't have a coach doing one style that's completely different than another style. Like you can work with me and work with Reggie, or work with Reggie and work with another coach and experience the same session. Even though maybe the coach follows the same program, even if they went off program, you still experience tempo being really, really focused here, rest intervals being very organized and tight. And that's one of the things that I like working here, but that's also, when you look at our Google reviews, those are also the things that people tell us. And so it's kind of nice to have the professional experience, but then also the client experience is very consistent as well. And so our philosophy is to optimize your health and maximizing your performance, and we do that through that consistent methodology.
I love it. No, it's funny because before I would walk past Rize a lot, and like when I see all these like, I'm being super honest, like when I see these like big machines and you know, they feel so masculine, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, I'm not one of those like,
Right.
you know, gym girlies. Like I go to the gym, I have a gym in my building, but it's so interesting when you walk in, whether you're working with you like a coach or. And another thing I find fascinating, I see a lot of familiar faces. Like it's the same person who's continuing to work with you like that. You know, after our class the other day, I think it was on a Wednesday, and when Noah's class was happening, and then you were training this girl, and I was like, oh, I've seen her before. So you're seeing that repeat clientele, and there's a reason why they're coming in. And I wonder if it's intentional to have the no frill and simple and basic, but like, because I noticed that, like I noticed the difference comparing to the super luxury gyms to like coming here and noticing that, okay, when they're coming in, and like you said to me earlier, when we're shooting some B-roll, you're like, hey Zara, make sure you're feeling it here, you activate your core, brace your core, because sometimes like I'm not doing those things, and I need someone to tell me that I need to do this.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the approach, and it's nice because the class coaches also work one-on-one, and so the approach in a group class, and that's kind of why we kept them smaller. You know, whether you're walking by and you're nervous about coming here, we hope that you're not anymore. And we hope
no, not at all.
We know.
No, but I'm
we
just
know.
saying,
Yes.
super like yoga, Pilates, walking, and it's like, but I'd heard from several friends, they're just like, some of my girlfriends, they were like, yeah, I love the classes and I love the trainers. She was like, all the trainers are really cute. And I was like, but it was on my mind for quite some time. Whenever I would walk by, you could see people were serious about their fitness.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of like what you said, that it's not just when Reggie is hiring, that he's not just like, okay, you did an online 4-week or the weekend program. Like you guys are like athletes.
Yeah.
Like you were playing professionally or almost played?
Yeah, that would have been nice. Reggie played, and but that's one thing that I want to circle back to. One of the things I think that's important is that, you know, it's an approachable space, and it's something that's why we kept the group classes smaller. Like I think our group classes cap at 12, maybe 15, and that's on purpose. That's partially space, but it's also because we want it to feel like you can get coached in the hour, and then you're not just kind of left doing a move that you don't know. And so that's something that we pride ourselves on not happening, where people leave either with that feeling of like motivation, especially with like Noah, you feel that with him, but also feeling like, okay, my form's improving. And that's not small. When your form is improving, that means that you're taking the right necessary next step to see the transformation that you might be coming in for, whether it's strength or visual or whatever it is, right? And so you're always going to leave feeling good, but we're going to make sure that the invisible gains are there, where you're starting to feel your progress and you're starting to see it show up over time. And so that's something that I think is really important. And then most of the coaches, former athletes, everybody performed at a pretty high level. We had former professional ballerina, figure athletes, and then a bunch of football players and other sport athletes. So I think that lends itself to the leadership qualities here.
Completely, and I think it just makes it so much like the next level, because like yes, you can do like an online fitness thing and this and whatever, not like knocking that down at all.
Yeah,
because to make fitness accessible to people, and different people are going to feel called and connected with, you know, we always different space and time. Like I still like to do my barre classes, my Pilates, my hiking and stuff. And when I'm coming here, I'm getting something else, and I notice it's so much more like technical. Like I'm just learning. Like I feel like being educated more on my body, and because when I work out on my own, I think I continue to do the same things. And then only those areas keep getting stronger, and I'm not even looking at my blind spot, not looking at the weak points, versus when I'm coming here, I'm like I did this class, the booty lab the other day, no joke, my legs were shaking, but in the best way, because I know I'm getting strong. Like I didn't realize I am so weak in this area, I'm now getting strong.
Yeah, you're pretty strong already, and you're going to the next, you're leveling up, right? And Booty Lab is unique in its approach and the way it's set up because again, because the classes are smaller, we can use hip thrusts with multiple people at once, and the coach can watch everybody and load the bars, and there's so many aspects to running a class like that.
The hip thrust and RDLs, like I would be afraid of just doing them by myself at home. And one of the things that went through my mind today, because it was the third that I've done now, like the Booty Lab,
Nice.
and I was like, eventually I'll be able to do these things on my own, but it's so nice to have that environment that you're doing it. And the other day when I was you're in with like all women, and it's kind of,
it's a vibe.
Yeah!
It's a vibe when the ladies come in and everybody's like leveling up and noticing new weights going up, and people also meeting each other too. It's quite nice here where, like you said, it's a familiar space. That's something that's kind of a nice accident, but it's been happening more and more. And so like we definitely pride ourselves on our approach from a reps and sets perspective. Like that stuff I think is different than what I've seen across the city. And is again, like you said, it's no knock. Everybody's taking their own approach. But our version of cardio is through the weights versus through the jumping and stuff like that. And nothing wrong with it, but
personally, like I think just where I'm at 42, I realize that works for me better.
Right.
I want the most bang for my buck. And I notice like when I'm doing that a lot of cardio and that kind of stuff, like I want to consume a lot more carbs too. Versus I feel like so my grandmother, she's passed away now, but she had arthritis and osteoporosis, and it's like so for me, I want to make sure like I have really small wrists and everything, that I'm strengthening my bones. My bones aren't getting weaker. So when there's something about when I lift, like I go through seasons, like there's times I really want to work on my flexibility. Like there's areas where I'm very flexible and certain areas where I'm not at all, which I'm also learning about here. But I noticed when I started really focusing on weight training this year and a couple of years ago during COVID, it's something so interesting what happens when you lift something heavy to your mind, because you feel like you can do difficult things that even, and the funny thing is, dude, like when I stopped training for a while, like I wasn't in the summer, I was traveling a lot, I was in Paris for the Olympics, like I'm not training, and then all of a sudden, it's like gone a little bit, but then you get back to it. But like anytime one of my friends, one of my girlfriends who's a coach and motivational speaker, she lives a block away from me and I've been wanting to bring her here. She said to me, she said, "You're happier, Zara."
Good.
And I said, dude, I'm just like training.
That's nice that she can notice that. That's great.
I'm just like lifting heavy, and like in that moment, because things are just happening, my mind, because for me the whole mind body connection, like as a former yoga teacher, is just so important. Like I noticed that in this moment in time, I'm just gonna devote to my mental health. That lifting heavy. Tell me about that, and tell me what it's like for you working with clients, because being a trainer during COVID, post-COVID, and here you're working with people who work intense jobs, whether it's an artist or an exec or someone. Like how is it for you, like, because you're really working with people and their lives and whatever's going. Every time I come and see you, I feel like it's a little bit of getting coached on life. You're like, hey, what's happening? Everything okay? It's the full thing, right?
And you can have it how you want it, right? Like we're organized, and so like to that piece of like going slow, when you do, whether it's body weight on a Pilates reformer or with a dumbbell, if you slow things down, you're giving your body a bunch of benefits. Not only are you going to be able to connect to the movement better, so then your the little muscles that are cheering underneath the big ones are going to get stronger when you slow down. You're also going to get the muscle building benefit faster. And the benefits to building muscle, you talked about small wrists, you talked about aging. Muscle is going to be the thing that is, and we're seeing the literature on this for like coaches is like, this is a foregone conclusion, but I think for most people who are just learning about strength training for the first time, it's good to hear it over and over, and there's a growing trend, especially within like female leadership, that is talking more about strength training, which I think is really helpful, because there's a bunch of reasons why someone might avoid strength training, and that's fine, but we really like to encourage it and really help, because we know how much good it does. And I think that there's a scientific piece, but there's also like a philosophical piece, I think, to coaching that's like this strain is necessary in order. It's not a bad strain. It's gonna suck in the moment. Usually people don't want to do it. That's why it's fun to have a coach there. But if you can get that tempo slowed down and either add some load if you can, or if you can't get into a gym with weights, really slow the tempo down, your muscles are gonna thank you, your joints are gonna thank you first, and then your muscles are gonna grow, and then all the other goals that people might want beyond feeling good are gonna show up as faster as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a big piece, right? And then I forget what you had asked a little bit more beyond that.
Yeah, no, I think as you were sharing that, something else that was coming to me is I would love to hear what makes you so passionate about being in the fitness industry and working with individuals. Obviously, you have to love working with people because you're working with them. It's very, it's. I'm sure with every client you have a different relationship and connection. I'd love to hear a little bit of your own personal passion and how do you keep things fresh. But I want to hear what do you get out of it.
Right. So a couple stories there, not long stories. When I was
we love long stories.
Oh really? Yeah. So growing. So for me, when I was little, there was just a lot of grown-ups who were going through challenges, and so I saw how as people I use the word struggle, but as people overcame difficulties, I saw that led to better things for them. So for example, my when I was really small, my martial arts instructor had a lot of physical challenges. There's been a lot of parallels in my life of people overcoming physical challenge and things working out better in their life. And so I saw that at a young age, and I was like, oh, if you just keep trying hard, good things happen. And that was the case for me. Sometimes bad things happen too. When I was in college, I had one of my captains pass away with a fight with leukemia, but watching how he showed up to work out, still showed up to practice, even though he probably went to the hospital later that day and ended up losing his life to that illness, I saw how the consistency with the things in the fitness space were what gave both my martial arts instructor and then later one of my captains in football the kind of maybe it was community, maybe it was something else, but there was a lot of parallels to that being necessary even though things were going really bad. And I think for me, when I think of, and this is getting a little deep, but life's gonna go bad for all of us at some point. And this may not be a fitness point, but being able to push through that in some way, I believe that a consistent fitness practice or going to the gym or finding something that works in order to use your body, I think that for me, that's why I like to do this, because I know bad things are gonna happen and you need to be strong in order to overcome them. And I believe that fitness helps you overcome more things in life. But I use a blank slate. I use a broad stroke with fitness. I think it's a cure-all. Not everybody thinks that, but for me and the examples I've seen in my life, that's been the case. So I hope that makes sense. But
no, it completely makes sense.
Yeah.
For someone like me, under the whole mind-body connection, and I feel especially even though obviously it's something I've always been aware of, teaching yoga and what even drew me to yoga, and I'm not teaching at the moment, but when I move my body, which can be something as simple as walking, and if I'm not a good state of being, and sometimes it could be pouring outside, and the rain could be just or snow and windstorms, and I have to walk my dog, and I could be going through a breakup and whatever, and no joke, after the walk, after the half an hour outside, I'll come home a new person.
Nice.
The whatever heaviness, but it's that thing of, yes, we can meditate and change our state, internal state, but when we do something especially difficult, and I think that's why I'm passionate about, working with individuals like yourself, so I can learn and to be okay, I don't have all the answers, I want to get better because I want to feel good, I want to look good, beyond looking good, also learning to eat better and take care of myself and live a long, healthy life, and vitality is just something else, right? Working on camera, doing red carpet, emceeing events when I have to be on and naturally, on. and like maybe like a cup or two of coffee, but like being on and giving that energy. But that comes from having exerted my body and been in that pain. And I feel like when I mix, like one of the things that got me back to weight training a couple of years ago, like during COVID time, I went through a breakup and there was a lot of pain, internal, emotional, and I had moved back to Canada after living in Paris overseas, and I was like struggling, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna lift, and 5 pounds, dude, felt really heavy, and I started lifting, looking in the mirror, listening to music that was encouraging me, and tears were coming out. And I allowed myself to have that experience. And I would like look at these girls and I'd follow their workouts, and little by little I started getting stronger. And then the tears stopped. Right? And now I'm getting stronger, and I was like, I'm going to make myself a priority. I'm going to give myself that dopamine, the natural high, instead of looking for it from outside sources. I'm going to give myself the feel-good feeling instead of looking for that validation
100%.
or love from that, and that.
Yeah, you took it deeper than I did. That's great. Because that internal piece is huge, and I think that's the thing I never say to people, because it's too heavy. It's like, come on in, you want to lose some weight? Are you ready to like
change your
practice
life?
self-acceptance? Yeah, but that's really what the journey ends up being. The amount of sessions I've been in where it's a crying or it's a venting, that's normal. It's personal training for a reason. But the journey within is really what makes everything outside come together. And I know that sounds a little cliche, but that's why I do this. Like, I really enjoy, someone coming in that has like frozen shoulder or some problems with their posture because they're sitting a lot, and we help them wake up their muscles again. And like, you literally get a boost from just improving your posture. And I know everybody at home just signed up with us. But that kind of stuff, it's not small. Sleep is not small. Crying is not small. All those pieces that help you to feel strong again is really why I do this. It's really, really important to be able to get that piece that you need. And literally, like, that's what the self-care is. It's not a vacation. It's those moments where you're by yourself and you're letting yourself cry, or you're showing up to the workout and you're letting the weights be heavy that day, but you know you're going to show up again tomorrow. That's self-care. That it's not some retreat.
And there's something about being seen. Like, I realized like I was doing the work, my workouts at home, and it can be okay. Like, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's a filmmaker. She has a documentary on CBC right now. And, we were talking a little bit about Western society, like in North America. I was born in Pakistan, so very individualistic. And shows like this, I feel like I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to do shows like this, because it's helping expand my community. I'm feeling more anchored in Vancouver than I ever have, because I'm building those relationships. And you can do the workout at home, you can do the workout at the gym in your building, but there's something about when you show up, whether you're doing a class or working with a coach, because as time goes on, you're going to go through those ups, and you're going to go, the peaks and valleys are going to come. And then as people see me going through the up and down, because you've seen in a very short amount of time, the one day I came in and he's like, what's going on? And I was like, well, Karen, this is life. This is what's happening. But there's something about the being seen, because I feel like part of what you guys do, like a trainer in general, when you're working the one-on-one with people, so much of that is like you guys are actually coaching, because you're taking those people's like energies, you know what I mean? Like anything could be, someone could be going through divorce and whatever, like the happiest times, the lowest times, and they're coming to you and you're like, okay, like we're gonna work on this. So how do you keep yourself like, I guess this could be advice for perhaps coaches or new coaches out there. How do you keep things fresh? You know what I mean? Keep things excited for yourself and for your clients. Like keep things excited. Because if you're doing this day in, day out, how do you not like A, take it on, B, keep it fresh?
That's a good question. It's something that the coaches talk about here all the time, where like you need to change your environment. Or we're lucky here. There's so many good rep set schemes here that we can draw from to keep things like, there's probably like 3 years of every month. There's over 36 programs that I could do for the next 3 years. I could do a different program every month here that I have no, if I wanted to lift weights the whole time, right? But for me, and I think for a lot of the coaches, like changing environments, some of us run, some of us don't. I think a change of environment, community is important, being able to see people that you want to talk to and you know, people who are genuinely happy for you, like finding those people like you talked about, that usually happens in the group environment. I think that that's huge. I think those two things are massive, and keeping it fresh, like really, like in Vancouver you're lucky because this is one of the best. That's why I moved to this city from Toronto. It has the most variation at a high level anywhere you go. So even if you're on ClassPass, you're getting like a really good experience here that's very consistent across all the spaces. Vancouver is very special that way, and I think people know that.
It's the lifestyle, fitness.
It's really unique here. There's not a big, anyways. Every environment you go into is going to be pretty. So I think like just want that willingness to seek out new if you want to. If something's working, you don't have to change it. But I think that like for the most part, environmental changes, and then if you can find people who are going to be genuinely happy for you when you're seeing your progress, and you tell them, like your neighbor, noticing those things. I think that that's important too, if you can seek that out. And if you don't have that, then, you know, lucky you get to give it to yourself. But I think that those two things are the things that stand out the most. Hope that makes sense.
Of course.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I noticed there are a lot of women who come to this gym. And obviously they're getting the right training, they're loving the classes, they're feeling comfortable coming here. And I see that, like, you know, like even for me, it's like sometimes coming here is like therapy. Like I do, going back to the mind-body connection, is like whether it's a good day, bad day, or you just wanna, you know, like escape your life a little bit.
Yeah.
Like even on days when it's like been raining, I'm like, just book that class, just show up.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna feel better afterwards.
Yeah.
And hence my friends noticing, they're like, you're happier. And dude, like I'm noticing that too.
Yeah.
I'm like, is it the supplements I'm taking? I started taking vitamin D more, but I'm like, I think it's a mixture of different things. Of when I push myself for that 1 hour, even though the name Booty Lab is scary, I told that to Tyler. I was like, I was really nervous to attend this class.
Yeah.
And then I signed up for hypertrophy. I was like, oh, I'm like hypertrophy or
hypertrophy. Yeah.
Okay, I don't even know what that means. You're gonna have to tell me.
Yeah.
But the way you guys break that down, so that's something I want to go back to, because I noticed how all these girls, like even when I'm meeting the girls in the classes, like there's a lot of like you get paired up and you get to like have that little bit of community. Obviously these women are getting something from here. What would you say is, you know, obviously I can speak to it, but I would love to hear from you as a trainer, that how do you see the philosophy at Rize different than anywhere else that you have worked?
Yeah, so great question. And I think that the main thing, a lot of people, men, women, don't want to do it wrong. So they don't want to hurt themselves, and they don't want to look like they're doing it wrong, right? Especially in a group environment. And when they're by themselves, they don't want to hurt themselves. And so I think that that's the thing that people are getting here, and they're hearing it from their friends. That's at least what people tell me, is when I see a new face here, I like to ask questions. I'm, you know, hopefully not intruding, but hey, how'd you hear about us? And it's usually my friend, or it's usually a Google review that someone read, and it's something related to the experience of feeling like their form was being focused on, and then all the good things that come with that followed, right? It's the strength, the tone, whatever you want, right? And so I think that that's the main thing, is all the coaches really take it personally to be able, and so does every coach, I think, for the most part. But our coaches aren't trying fitness out. Like some of us have mortgage and kids. We're all over 30 for the most part. This isn't like a thing we're trying, and we're not focused on like likes and clicks and stuff like that. So for the most part, the coaches here are like dedicated to their clients and the craft. And I think that consistency, I don't know about every space, but we really take a lot of pride in that here.
What advice would you give to someone who's perhaps watching this now or will watch it later, and you know they feel stuck when it comes to their fitness journey or their health? You know, it doesn't even need to be fitness journey; it could just even be health. And you know, it's like So earlier this year I went on a very strict diet, and I was noticing that how much I was using food as a way of making myself feel good, as an emotional thing. And then if you take it to the nth degree, it can turn into, something else where if I'm not moving my body and this and that. So if someone is feeling stuck, what advice would you give to them that if they need, how can they take back charge of their life? And it's not even about fitness anymore, it's about health. Diabetes, high blood pressure. And then as we age, for women, whether you're going through pre or perimenopause, and as the years go on, which of course the emotional and mental benefits can be different, but when it comes to just down to health, that you're having, all these ailments, how can we take back control of our lives and get over the fear of entering a space or coming in and asking for help?
Great question. This is kind of at the heart of what I'm passionate about in the space. A couple things. I would say shrink it. Right? Coming into a gym like this, if you're struggling to get out of bed, for example, is not the thing you probably want to do. I think in our culture in the West, we have this 0 to 100 kind of experience all the time, and that's why you have New Year's resolutions and people talk about, the gyms are going to be empty in March. Those trends are there, in my opinion, because there's too much of an emphasis put on being perfect. Okay? And so we can't be perfect, so then we're off the gym by March, right? And so I would say shrink the change. I think if you're struggling, I've struggled with fitness, I've struggled with a lot of other things in my life, and this is what I've learned. Personally speaking, what I would say, and I've said this to clients, I've had these things happen with people who are paying to come in. People still struggle with this stuff even when they're motivated to get up, right? So if you're someone that's struggling, I'd recommend shrink this thing down and ask a couple questions. One of the questions that I like is, am I willing? What's my willingness to move right now? Am I willing to get out of bed? Am I willing to whatever it is, that frame, am I willing? And then whatever comes next in that question can give you a lot of personal power to take whatever step makes sense for you. Because it's a yes or no. It's am I willing to work out today? No. Cool, at least you put some personal power behind the next step. And then I would recommend people sit down in a quiet place and try to create instead of going 0 to 100, try to create a sliding scale. And you put your personal minimum and your personal maximums together. And your personal minimum, my personal minimum is right now, it changes, but my personal minimum right now is 20 minutes. I don't know what the 20 minutes are gonna be. Sometimes it's a crazy workout, sometimes it's just jumping on the bike, right? But my minimum, that's gonna happen. I can do that no matter what. My minimum used to be lower. It used to be getting out of bed, okay? But if you put that minimum for yourself, then now you have a real place that you can jump from. Versus trying to go on social media and figure out what workout to do today. It's too much. So you set your personal minimum, and then the maximum can be whatever. The maximum is fun. The maximum is the thing that I think it's a class or it's whatever. But I think I would really recommend for anybody who's really struggling there's a willingness question, is an inner honesty thing, and then there's the personal minimums and maximums. That's how I structure it with my clients when they struggle, especially around food. Is what are the things that we can negotiate together that you're going to tell me is your minimum? What are you going to do on a daily? And the frame needs to work within your life. It really needs to be your frame, not someone else's, because we're really good at doing whatever we want.
Also, what I'm hearing underneath what you're saying is empathy. What I'm hearing underneath that. I remember when I came in and I told you what my goals were. And I think one of the things that one of the words, if you don't mind me sharing, you were okay, there's a little bit of perfectionism, there's something else you said, and I get it, and it's so fascinating, even sometimes some other people that I'm working with for self-care and whatnot, and I noticed working in this industry that I'm in, from a very young age, and as a female, and the ideas and standards of beauty, and I've gone through all the spectrum myself, right? And and it's still a journey, right? Like it's still such a journey, and like learning to have that self-acceptance and self-care while I'm training, because that can be such an interesting thing for your mind. The perfectionism when it kicks in, where you're like, okay, I want that Victoria's Secret model body now. I want that Adriana Lima body now. But like, what does that mean? Like, and how will you feel when you get there, or what do you think that is going to bring you? And I want to talk a little bit about food and supplements, if you don't mind, because I know we personally haven't really had a chance when Kevin's been coaching me to talk about that, because we've just been working on my mobility and my. Sometimes I'm like, am I an elderly lady? Like, but like, it's like, you know, one thing goes off and then boom. And why did I know why I even ended up injuring myself? My energy was frantic. I was doing too many things at once. I was on my phone. I'm not even sure if I told you. I missed 2 steps. I was on Instagram.
Yes.
And my foot went all the way back, and I was like,
Ouch.
no. And I was like, hey, I do yoga, it'll be okay, mind over matter, mind. And I went to set, and they were like, you gotta go home, you can't work like this.
Yeah.
But so I would like to talk a little bit about, you know, as we, especially for women, but I think it obviously exists for men as well, you know, doing that self-care and being nice and gentle to ourselves and our minds while we're on this fitness journey. Because I'll be honest, I've shared about this on camera before. I've struggled with this, like the idea of like, what size pants am I wearing? You know, like what are my measurements? Like how much do I weigh? And I remember last time I was in, you were like, we don't even need to weigh if you don't want to.
Yeah.
And that was such a like, because we're working on a different level.
Yeah, and I think levels is a really good frame for what I would say in that space, where it's so complicated and messy out there in the fitness industry. You're gonna get pulled in every direction, and the main things around food and you know, what sounds like self-acceptance and this process of changing so that you get that result, right? There's so much in what you asked.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's a big
No, it's a good question.
My questions are
no, it's a good question. What I'd say is like fitness. I think like most things, in the beginning, everything works. Right? That's why those Victoria's Secret models get where they get, because it worked for them, right? And there's reasons why environmentally there's pressure that's going to be there that might not be there for me. Like say, I'll keep a male example. Like say I want to do a figure competition and I'm comparing myself to the men that I see on stage. I know they take steroids, I know some of them don't, right? But all that's in my brain and I'm stressed that I can't do it. Well, I have to look at my life individually. And so these things get more complicated before they get simple. And I think a big piece of it is people wanting the simple without getting the complicated. And it's like, no, you have to go through the research for yourself. And as like I could help you with that, right? But even with a coach, there's like 6 approaches we could take to get to the same goal. But which one works for you? They all work. Intermittent fasting, tracking calories, not tracking calories, you know, just increasing your total mood. There's so many ways we could approach this, but which one are you gonna do?
Which one is gonna sustain you? Because
that's
what happened to me, because I went super like protein, cut out sugar, gluten, everything, no rice, no bread, nothing. I go, and then boom, I go to Paris, and after 4 months of that, and I was so like, I was even going on my social media, like I'm like, I'm so like, it changes, I literally lost like 10 pounds in a month, and then boom, I go to Paris, and then I'm like, bread is like, I was like a kid, like you know, in a candy store, I was like, I was eating 2 croissants a day, because I'm just like,
and you should, and you should. And I think that like the broader point is, and then maybe the deeper point is like, you gotta trust that it's gonna happen for you, number one. It's good, if that trust isn't there, that like you'll get there when you get there. If that's not there, then you're gonna be this frantic person all the time, and you're gonna stress yourself out, and progress will not happen. That's just non-negotiable.
What if you're just a frantic person?
If you don't believe it, you can be frantic, and that is a gift that can help you solve problems faster, right?
We're being very honest.
If you're frantic, right? You gotta believe that you'll get there, and what that does is it gives you space to now go experiment.
Yeah.
And if you believe that you can go on vacation and still see progress, you're gonna get there. If you believe that you're gonna go on vacation and now you've messed up, that I want to work on that as a coach. I want to be like, hey Zara, go on vacation, just enjoy it. The whole point is to enjoy vacation. It's not to see progress in your fitness goals. If you want to see progress in your fitness goals on vacation, you need to bring Tupperware and start cooking on vacation.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can see progress on vacation.
Yeah.
Now, granted, a lot of people who are stressed out in their day-to-day and go on, this is off topic, people who are stressed out in their day-to-day and then go on vacation and see progress and lose weight, let's say, that's because they've relaxed.
I am that person.
So that's a whole other thing.
I am that person.
Yeah.
Like I lived in Paris when I first moved
Yeah.
there, like in 2018.
Yeah.
After working in Vancouver, working in film and television, 12 to 16, sometimes 18-hour days. I moved to Paris, no joke, no workout, but I would just walk everywhere, ate all the baguette, fromage, cheese, croissant, everything carby you can imagine.
Yeah.
Within 3 months, I lost 2 dress sizes.
Right.
My nervous system relaxed. Like I was sleeping and I was happy and I just relaxed and my energy wasn't like this.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, sleep, it's not, so I just want to touch on one thing. I've got a client coming in a few minutes, but so I'll have to go in like 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Sorry. I'm enjoying this.
You gotta do
I'm busy. I gotta keep working.
Yeah.
But stress. Guys, if you're stressed out, you can't do it. The stress hormone, when you're stressed and you're not seeing progress, your body is working. Your body's supposed to break down muscle to make carbohydrates when you're stressed. It works. So if you see your muscle going down, but you're lifting weights, and you see like you're trying, but you're not seeing progress, but then you also see that like you've got a deadline this month, and like maybe your sales goals aren't where they should be, or whatever stresses you might have. If those stresses for you are higher than they usually are, and you're not seeing progress, it's probably a stress issue. And that's not nothing. That is huge. So is sleep, so is like a lot of like calming aspects of life. The body needs that in order to let go of the weight. Otherwise it's gonna hold it because it thinks it needs it for calories.
Yeah, and that's such an important point. I feel like that can be turned into a reel because the relaxation part, because when I go on social media and TikTok and I see I work out 6 days a week, I work out 7 days a week, like, you know, this is what I'm doing, like, and I'm hearing that from a lot of like girls. I know you gotta prep for your client coming in, but any lasting words of wisdom for anyone watching at home that what they can do today to implement that self-care to help improve their health today, to take charge of their health and fitness, and part of that health is the mental health because they go hand in hand. The physical part and the mental health, they go hand in hand.
This is just what I do, take it or leave it. You can sit in your chair, edge of your bed, wherever you want to be. And you just ask. You gotta be alone, and you ask honestly, like, what would I do? What could I do? What could I do? There's a lot of things I could do that I would do to move X forward or to get going today. And you'll get an answer. You'll get an answer. If you ask that question honestly, you'll get an answer. It might not be the answer you want, but that would be the next step. I think is because that's a big willingness piece. Is what could I do that I would do today? And maybe it's going back to sleep. Maybe I don't know what it would be, but that's what I recommend.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank
you so much.
I'm so excited to see what we're gonna do this month.
Yes.
Because I know I see Kevin on a monthly basis. He gives me homework.
Oh yeah.
And you know, and it's like slowly I started coming back to classes again and feeling confident about moving my body. And the more that I come, the more comfortable that I feel like when it comes to like showing up for myself, like getting stronger in my body, and also being a student and being like, you know what, it's okay if I don't know. It's okay if I don't have all the answers or if I don't know all the exercises, and I can ask for help and say, hey, I haven't done this before, like I had an injury, haven't worked out in a while, so.
Yeah, and come check us out at Rize Fitness. All the answers are here as well. If you want to meet me, we can talk about anything you want. And hopefully we'll see Zara again soon. This was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you so much. I know we went in deep, and thank you so much, Kevin. And I will share their information. So if you guys want to Follow them on social media or check out some of their classes, and they have some incredible trainers. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Zara.
You're welcome.